Hello. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, I started super late. Let's see if everything's working. Boop. Hello. My name is Tamashii, and all I gotta say is TamaTalks. I am a grumpy Latina Vtuber who lives in Japan, and I try to stream 5 times a week.
Bitch.
I will. Give me a sec. And I try to stream 5 times a week. On one of those days, I do, I guess, a little podcast by myself called TamaTalks, where I speak on things that matter to me, especially when it comes to social issues. And I'm gonna do that today. On the rest of those days, though, I do variety streaming 5 times a week. So I really please ask everyone to read the pinned. I'm sure I have the pin, but these are serious talks. I have a lot of warnings in my title and also in my pin. Especially tonight, I'm going to actually be doing a remembrance stream to just talk about and reflect on a certain journalist's death in Palestine. So I really beg for people to read the room here. If you can't do that, my mods will do their best to delete messages and possibly time you out if you're being too silly. But don't worry, on the rest of the week, I am funny, silly, vulgar Tama. It's just today, I want one day to reflect and speak on social issues that matter to me. So I really hope people can respect that. But yeah, I think tonight's stream is going to be, I feel like it's going to be a long stream, not going to lie. But I think I'm just going to do one topic. I'm not going to go much into any other topics. So after I finish talking about the journalist, I'm going to end stream. I think it might take like an hour or two, but let's see what happens. It's going to be a really heavy stream, by the way, as always. Oh yeah, and I need to drink water, don't I? Okay, there it is. I found water. Give me a sec. I don't like this water. This water's sussy to me. Where is the... I like a bigger bottle. There we go. Found it. Thank you. Here, I'll drink more. Okay. So, today's gonna be a heavy stream. Wow, I really needed water, didn't I? I feel like that cleared up my throat. It's gonna be a really heavy stream. Really dark, really sad. But I feel like it's an important talk that we need to have in order to recognize the Palestinian people's plight more. Especially reflect on things that have happened and have happened for a very long time. I think people are getting way too used to the suffering of other countries that are being colonized currently. And actually, the person I'm going to be speaking of, her name is Shireen Abu Akleh, and I apologize if I mispronounced that. But hearing her story really, really touched me amongst many other stories. But she was one of the first stories I heard revolving, Palestinians being treated unfairly. And And it kind of just makes you think more, and it makes you realize how all of us are very complicit in this, including myself, because all the surrounding countries that don't do anything have blood on their hands, and the people who don't care to do at least something to, I don't know, have respect for these people. I also feel like we have blood on our hands as a society. Lately I've been very up and down when it comes to my self-confidence, right? Pretty sure you guys have seen me like crash out like 4 times now, fucking hell, 5 times. I'm just a very unlucky person, and also I feel like I get caught up in how other people see me sometimes that I care about. And because of that, I don't know how to regulate myself well. And I just want to publicly apologize for skipping so many TamaTalks. Because like my goal as a VTuber, yes, it is to get big, right? And to get quote unquote clout, I suppose. But the reason why I want to get clout is because I want people to fucking care for once, right? Fucking care about other countries' pains, other people's pains. Because like I grew up not caring. And like if I am in pain from my own people suffering, imagine those who face worse things. And honestly, the world is getting worse and worse, especially America. And we just gotta keep talking about it, and not even just talk, but do more, you know? Like, as of right now, it's just unacceptable how much we're letting our countries get away with. And I think by now, the least that people can do, at least the people who watch me, right, or who know who I am, I hope that at least the things that people can do is to boycott the small hand of companies in the BDS list. That's my goal, at least. So I think we should get started now. Your pronunciation is all right. Thank you. I'm gonna drink water again just in case, because my poor voice has been suffering so much from me being stressed and getting sick and still being sick, and just, yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Let me get rid of this, my TamaTalks logo, guys. Boop. Let's put this here. I did not get rid of my logo, Lamau. ¿Dónde está mi logo? Sorry, my OBS is simply not... There we go. Boop. Okay. So, again, this is the person we were going to be talking about, Shireen. She died. Oh, thank you for the head pats. Muchas gracias. Thank you. And my charity widget is always broken, isn't it? I hate that. Jesus Christ. I don't know why it does that all the time. Here, let's put it in the middle here, ne? So you guys can see it better as well. Okay, I hope that's in the middle. It's been quite a long while since anyone has donated to the PCRF charity goal that I have. And I suppose that is my fault for not doing better to inspire people. Well, quite honestly, I think it's almost been a year where we've been super close to just fulfilling the 333 goal. I plan to do another charity stream. But I just need to prepare a lot, and I really need to get my life together. Mentally, I have not been okay. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down. But I do have people in the background who's been helping me, like, pull me out of my dark moments, right? So I have to, like, calm down and stuff. Oh yeah, before we get too deep, gotta calm the fuck down. It's true. I mean, I am calm already, but yeah. But yeah, that's the goal as well. My goal is to fulfill this charity goal, so I can go on to the next one. But yeah, this is who we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna be talking about Shireen. She was she died on May 11th, 2022. And we're going to get to know her a little bit as a person, read how and why she died, and also reflect on what happened after she died a little bit. When I found out about her story, it was yet again through watching the Leftovers podcast that used to be hosted by Ethan Klein and Hassan Piker. And actually, that was the last episode of The Leftovers. It was quite a sad episode because, I mean, to this day, Ethan has just turned into a terrible person, defending Israel no matter what they do, right? And they think that just because they agree that there's a genocide, they think they're absolved from protecting Israel's image, and also trying to put down pro-Palestinian content creators on the internet. But during this time, like, Ethan was still kind of like in the middle. They still wanted to defend the Israeli population and stuff, which is fair because his wife is Israeli as well. So it's like during this entire episode, Ethan just, like, he was listening to Hassan, but he kept on focusing on the poor Israeli civilians, which is fair. Okay, anyone who dies, no one deserves to die, in my opinion. There's always other ways to do things other than involving death. But when it gets way too deep, when you're constantly harassing, abusing, and fucking killing people, like, what else are people supposed to do? You know? Eventually, someone's going to retaliate. But for some odd reason, a lot of people refuse to fucking see that. And especially people who claim to be on the left, who claim to be fucking liberals, who claim to be pro-women's rights. I don't see no other fucking Vtuber who's pro-women's rights talking about Shireen or any Palestinian, frankly. And if they are, they're rare. Instead, what I see from the Vtuber community when it comes to quote-unquote politics is racist fucks. And I don't like that, and I don't want to be complicit in that. And I don't like calling this politics, but unfortunately, I have to put a tag on my streams that censors me, because Ethan Klein whined to Twitch, claiming that we, people like me who just want to speak up for those suffering in the world, are evil people trying to be racist towards Israelis. It doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, how dare you speak on politics? They need to be censored. It's fucked up. And I want to talk about that. So, and especially Hassan, who is like literally the #1 political commentator on the internet. So while Hassan was speaking on, you know, things that I always would hear him speak about on Twitch, right? In his own channel, he was trying to explain to Ethan Klein, like, hey, you gotta listen, man. You gotta listen. Like, this is why this happened. Try to see things from the Palestinian people's side a bit more. It was quite frustrating having to have these people like focus solely on the Israeli side of things, or how they tell the story. No one's telling the story of the Palestinian people, and the ones who are getting killed or silenced or censored. And that's when Hassan started speaking of Shireen. And I was hearing this episode at work, bro. And I ended up crying. Like, I had my earbuds in. I was on my desk. And usually when I'm on my desk working on lessons and stuff, making lessons, when I'm not teaching, I usually, you know, have something in my ear, like either music or I'm listening to podcasts, or I'm listening to the news, or I'm listening to Hassan. Like, that's what I'm doing most of the time. Yeah, and I watch streamers, but usually streamers don't. The people I watch usually stream around my time, not when I'm working. So that, yeah. I kind of want you guys to react with me what I reacted to during that leftovers episode, because I thought it was really powerful how everything ended up being. So we're gonna watch like maybe like 10 to 15 minutes of Hassan trying to explain to Ethan Klein the atrocities that the Palestinian people face every day, and even worse now. This episode of The Leftovers was from 2 years ago, basically. And he brought up Shireen Abu Akleh, and he described what happened to her. And when I heard him tell this story, I never in my life, I've been watching Hassan for many years now. During those years, I've never seen Hassan be emotional in the way he was in that episode. And it was very powerful. And it made me realize, like, damn, this is why we need to talk about these things. This is her 3rd anniversary of being dead, and she has not received any justice. And we're gonna react to that. So let me just turn off my music so we can switch to react to the Leftovers podcast. Ooh, that was perfect. The song ended there. How perfect. That's awesome. Okay, boop. So this is the last episode 61. There's the 90-second ad break. My bad, y'all. This is episode 61, correct? Yes, 61 of the Leftovers podcast from the H3 podcast. Unfortunately, I'm going to be giving this fucking channel views, but I feel like if I don't react to this, I feel like eventually they're gonna end up deleting these episodes, I have a feeling, since it's pretty incriminating of how Ethan used to somewhat agree with Hassan and listen to Hassan, and now if you look at what he's doing now, he's literally just blatantly lying about everything, trying to assassinate Hassan's character in order to silence him from using his very powerful voice to speak for Palestinians, and not only Palestinians, but anyone out there who is suffering by the American government's hands, and especially by Israel's hands. So, let's see. Let's start playing. Boop.
And many people are calling for his resignation. He is not going to do that. It's not going to happen. Even if he resigns, think about it this way.
Hold on, 86% said that the attack from Gaza is a failure of leadership.
Yeah, 86. Yeah.
So right here, they're talking about Netanyahu. It's very important, and I'm trying to remember exactly what was being said here. But I think it's very important to recognize that we shouldn't just assume things about a group of people, right? They're using these statistics to show that the majority of people do not agree with what the leader of Israel is doing, Netanyahu. They see it as a failure. Now, this was from back then. I think now at this point, it's pretty difficult to be lenient towards people from that country, because honestly, they've been going to other countries, basically committing hate crimes, harassing people who are pro-Palestinian. I've been a victim of this here in Japan. Many people in Japan have been a victim of this, because more people in Japan are realizing that these tourists that come from this country, and the businesses here that come from that country and do businesses in Japan, people are starting to finally catch on what they're doing of them, committing genocide. So most of the responses from average fucking citizens is for them to yell at our faces and threaten to hurt us is kind of crazy. But I think the safest bet, okay, never assume that all Jews are bad right now. Just assume that those who are pro-Palestinian, those are the people you should watch out for. And that's really easy to see. They end up usually outing themselves once they say that once they start comparing Israel and Palestine and making it seem like it's an equal footing. That's where you know something's wrong. That's when you know that it's propaganda. Once they start blaming everything on Hamas, that's where you're like, you should really be thinking about things. Because right now, Palestine is the victim of genocide. So let's continue this.
That's what I said.
And by the way,
oh, you did.
This is just
that's like everybody.
This is Jewish citizens, so this isn't even including obviously the Arab Israelis.
And people who watch this show know when we do polls and it's 86%, that's basically everybody.
Yes, exactly, 100%. Who the fuck is dick riding Netanyahu in that point? Because from either angle, even if you think Palestinians should be ethnically cleansed, or you think Palestinians should the occupation should end for the security purposes of Israeli citizens, it doesn't matter. You're still going to arrive at that conclusion that it is Benjamin Netanyahu's fault, because the power player in this situation is what matters. The power player in this situation is entirely responsible. The situation, for example, in Afghanistan, with the Taliban's numbers not withering away, but instead growing in popularity during the American occupation, is a perfect.
How long was I muted that entire time? Oh God, I was. Okay. Well, now I know no one's listening. Shit. Okay. Let me check my. Whatever. Let me check my fucking YouTube. What the hell did I just look at? Let's see. View your channel. Right here. Let me see. I'm gonna see how long I was muted for. I can't hear shit. Oh my God. It looks like. Wait, there is no, that's a lie. Let me. Okay, wait. No, this thing is muted. Okay, unmute site. Other countries basically committing.
Doesn't matter. You're still.
Okay, I was literally muted that entire segment. I'm. Okay, whatever. It's fine. I'll just continue it. Boop.
Example of what happened and is a perfect example of what's constant with occupying forces and with their violent means of subjugating, humiliating, and murdering the population. You fucking kill fuck, who was it? Even that I forget who this was, but I remember someone saying, like, look, in 2014 or in 2004, time and time again, whenever bombing campaigns occur and people die and children die, you know, their relatives are still alive. The ones that are still alive are going to go, well, I know who fucking bombed me. I know who fucking killed my family. I know who fucking dropped bombs on my house. I'm not going to forget that. That is at the heart of the matter. And a real reconciliation with that means completely going back on 75 years of brutal occupation and policies that were deemed necessary at the time for Israeli security, that absolutely was just a cynical way to justify taking more and more land from Palestinians who had no say, who have never had a say in the conversation, and still to this day have no say. I mean, seriously, the resilience of Palestinian people all around the world, of 5 million displaced, 2 million living in Gaza, and another 2.5 million living in the West Bank is unimaginable. They've never had allies. They've always had imperfect allies and allegiances with people that are just simply only interested in destabilizing Israel. Like, I don't think
Iran just fucking wants to use them as a puppet.
I don't think Iran gives a shit about like Palestinians being free.
Dude.
I think it's very cynical, and they have nothing. They have nothing. They've never had anything. There is no equivalence here between the well-oiled military machine of the Israeli army that has gotten $264 billion in American taxpayer dollars to continue its operations.
And again, I was fucking muted the entire time I was speaking earlier, but this was done 2 years ago, and this was done during the Biden administration willfully. And the administration we have now, the Trump administration, is just following the steps of what Biden was doing. Biden and Kamala both equally complicit in all of this. So this was being done willfully by the liberals, okay? Because they benefit from it. And honestly, I think they benefited from Trump winning. And a lot of people saw that, including myself, and did not want to vote for Hitler 1.0 or Hitler 2.0. Okay. And people who looked down on people like me, who practiced our goddamn American right to express ourselves, our dissatisfaction with the American government, to those who made fun of us and to criticize us and basically fucking turn on us by going on racist rants and or dehumanization of a group of people, shame on you. Shame on fucking you. Because all of this was from 2 years ago. Everything that Hassan is describing right now, especially the money going to Israel, was done under both administrations, especially the liberal one, especially the Biden administration.
It's just not, there's an asymmetry to the violence, and there's also an asymmetry to the conversation where Palestinians like living in fucking Gaza are being called by the BBC, and while bombs are being dropped on their fucking heads, the BBC anchor is like callously being like, "Do you condemn the Hamas violence?" It's
And
like,
by the way, that's
Well, yeah, like exactly, like so, like a fucking these normal ass civilians are being criticized for being Palestinian, for being born Palestinian, for just trying to live, and everyone who's against pro-Palestinian people, anyone who's pro-Palestinian, they just go, but what about Hamas? What about Hamas? Bitch, what does Hamas have to do with the fucking kid that's getting fucking obliterated by bombs made in the US? Okay, being dropped by Israel. What does that kid have anything to do with that? Okay, by a small group of people who used to be that kid who survived and were not obliterated. Of course they're gonna try to fucking retaliate. Stop killing these fucking people.
It's fucking stupid.
it's like fucking insane, and they never.
And
have,
I don't want people to conflate what I'm saying
I've
with
never-
BBC asking someone.
Okay, and you see, this is when I still had hope in fucking Ethan. But that's what he's doing now. He just decided to go through the fucking dark side of evil liberalism, right? Of saying the right things, making it seem pretty, making it seem that he's just so progressive, just to use that as an excuse to dehumanize a group of people and only focus on the Israelis' feelings on the whole matter. Yes, people died. Of course that matters. Of course I'm not supporting civilians being killed. But how come the entire population of Israel can only suffer from like 2-digit deaths, right? 2-digit deaths of military soldiers abusing civilian populations, by the way, doing that for us for many years. But you don't care about a civilian that had nothing to do with that is Palestinian. It's not equal, and that's exactly what you're doing now, Ethan Klein. Back then, we all had hope in him, and that's why Hassan is you can kind of see how frustrated he is. It's just so fucking frustrating when people don't see like Hassan said, the asymmetry is not equal. You cannot make an equal argument. Palestine is the victim here.
In Gaza taking bombs if they support Hamas.
So here's the thing. I've never, ever in my entire life, ever seen a couple things. I've never seen the American government, the State Department, ever say this was a provoked act of violence from Palestinians. I've never seen that. They always say it's unprovoked because it is supposed to be, that violence is like, they act like that violence was in a vacuum. And I know you agree with me on this. I don't think you disagree with me on this at all. They never say this was a provoked act of violence, okay? That is by design. And I've never seen somebody bring up an Israeli official, okay, to television when Gaza is being bombed and being reduced to rubble, or even when Gaza is not being bombed and the brutal occupation still remains, and been forced to condemn the violent actions of the Israeli government. I've never seen that. I've never heard that. I've never seen that. And I don't think that will ever happen, because at the end of the day, America wants a military base in the Middle East. America wants a destabilizing force that they see in the Middle East. America wants to keep selling weapons America still wants conflict. The Western world still wants conflict, and they use Israel to that end, and they will continue doing this in 35 different states in the United States of America, where all of these like free speech, supposedly First Amendment defending states. It is illegal to ask to boycott and ask to make divestments and to ask to sanction the state of Israel. It is illegal. It is, you cannot hold a position as a school teacher without signing a fucking thing that says, I will never participate in the peaceful demand that you want to boycott, divest, or put sanctions on the state of Israel. What?
What countries is that in?
America.
In the United States of America, 35 states.
Oh, yeah. 35 states.
37 as of now, I believe, but 35 as of 2021.
That's
Think about that.
Nuts. Yeah,
and the AIPAC wrote that legislation. They helped push it. They wrote the legislation. There is no comparison.
And by the way, conservative support for Israel is about as cynical as it gets.
Absolutely.
Their whole worldview is that the Jews are guarding Israel until Jesus comes back.
Yes.
And when he does, he's going to kill all the Jews.
Yes. It is a suicide cult. It is a suicide cult. The assumption that like from the river to the sea, the chosen sons and daughters of God will maintain Israel, and therefore Jesus Christ will come down and defeat Shaitan and Megiddo, is a psychotic, suicidal cult. Yet that is the reason why not American Jews, but evangelical Christians, evangelical Protestants are the #1 defenders of the Israeli occupation.
It's crazy. And those people that used to be my dad, and I always tell this story, but I first found out about Palestine about shit. Fuck, it's been a while. 5 years ago, I think. Shit. Oh my god, it has been a while. 5 years ago. I knew nothing until I was watching Hassan, and they only spoke about it for a snippet, because it wasn't, of course it was bad, but it wasn't to the level that it is now, I mean. And during that time, I remember like seeing the Israeli soldiers like fucking harassing, throwing smoke grenades in a mosque of people who were just trying to pray. I also saw them bomb a fucking journalist building. And for me, during that time, I'm like, well, wait, that's not cool. Isn't that a war crime? Hello? And so me and my dad, I mean, I think so listen, I think just me and my dad is the only person where I speak politics to IRL. It feels like I have no one to talk to about this sort of thing. And I'm pretty shy to talk about it because people don't care. And also because people like cringe at me, like wanting to talk about important matters. Why? Because it makes them uncomfortable. But when I was talking to my dad, he was like, well, yeah, but poor Israel, like, these guys are always trying to attack them for no reason. I'm like, well, Dad, think about it. It doesn't make sense. That there has to be a reason why they're attacking them. And he just goes, no, because they're evil and they're the victims. They're the people in Israel are God's people and yada yada. And I'm like, Dad, okay, listen, let's stop quoting the Bible for a bit, because you're kind of sounding psychotic a little bit. And this is not even in the Bible. Like, how do you know these are God's children? You're probably interpreting that wrong. I think you're being fooled here a little bit. And he goes, no, the people. Then he started saying like really bad things about the Palestinians. And I'm like, Dad, how are you supposed to get mad at those who have to make their own weapons by hand? And then the country that gets like unlimited money support to fucking abuse these people. Like, who has the most power here? Like, be for real. Like, America's not giving weapons to the Palestinians. They're giving weapons and money to Israel. Just that alone should make you realize who's the evil one. You yourself, as the fucking Latino man who knows what America does when they get involved with a country, you know how they are. What do you know? But he was just blinded by this like religious mania. And I actually got in a heated argument with him, and it was terrible. Like, I started calling him names like, "You're a piece of shit." And listen, I didn't even know much about the whole thing. No, what I know now, I didn't know back then at all. I just saw two things that were unjustified in my eyes, and immediately I just knew who was the bad guy. I knew. And so yeah, it's a lot to think about. Some people just don't think logically. And again, try to put these two countries in an equal balance, and it's not equal.
They are the ones who push for
crazy.
it. They're the ones who fucking fund the psychopathic settlers that you pointed out.
Yeah.
That they are the ones who open up 501c3s so
it's
that
all
they
Christians'
can get
fault.
tax
Thanks for
deductible
finally saying
donations. Yeah, no, I think. Yes, of course. Christians play a gigantic
Yeah.
role in this. I mean, it was the fucking British that propped up Zionist brigades. Yes.
I mean,
this still
in a
goes back
way,
to England.
I mean, in a way, though, it is like, you
It
know,
all comes back to the Brits,
it's like,
doesn't it?
you know,
It
if
does,
you're coming
as
out of
well.
World War II at the Holocaust and you're being offered land by Britain and you're
Uh-oh.
Hold on, your camera's out.
I'm going to go pee. I'm going to go pee while you're gone. Oh, no. Now I'm censored.
I'm fucking winning this
Oh my
argument.
God, you guys.
I'm not taking a pause to pee.
Well, they can hear me, right?
This is so.
So
I don't even know why he
anyway,
thinks
I'll,
it's
I'll
an
continue my
argument.
point as you guys work it out. I was saying that, you know, coming out of the Holocaust, you can hardly blame people who are offered land in their historic religious, most important religious spot by the British are hardly going to say no to that. Like, you know.
No one's denying
It's
that.
just, again,
But the thing is the thing that he's not mentioning here. Again, the British offered the Jewish people, the Jewish refugees, land that was Palestinian land, right? What he's not mentioning here is how they offered it. At some point, you know, everyone was able to live in harmony. But you know what they ended up doing? They ended up massacring a bunch of Palestinian people and other Muslims, Arabs, in order to colonize this land. And that's how the state of Israel was created, through massacre. That's not what he's mentioning. It's like, oh yeah, well, of course. And no one's blaming the Jewish refugees for going there. What people don't like is how brutally massacred and murdered a bunch of Palestinians were during that time.
human experience. What group of people would have said, nah, that's not cool?
Right. And then important to note that those same British simultaneously also promised the Arabs in Palestine a state there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
literally
did.
Offering conflicting offers to two different groups of people.
So
good work,
like,
guys.
The difference is that they ended up massacring the group that, you know, was originally living there.
again, when people, I do think when people try to reduce this conflict
You're reducing
as
it.
something that's not simple, It's something that's so easy to understand. I don't think is entirely fair. I really don't. Like,
Then mention the massacres, bro. I'm not saying there wasn't massacre. I mean, of course the Jewish people suffered, but this was like the people who migrated to Palestine. Some of them weren't even. I don't even think they suffered from the Holocaust. Most of them. Yes, they suffered from discrimination, unlawful discrimination. But is that a good valid excuse to fucking massacre a group of people? I don't think so. And of course, yes, they suffered from the Holocaust, and a bunch of people did end up going to escape that. But again, does that justify massacring the people who were originally from there and who are suffering, who are being killed to this day?
like the war crimes, the murder, all the shit that's happening is obvious and easy and easy to point to Israel. But if you're talking about like the establishment of Israel, the long feuds over the land going back 75 years, where again, as Dan was saying, the British went to the Jews after the Holocaust and said, "You guys want to live in Jerusalem?" And they're like, fuck yeah." And then
To be
went
fair,
to the
they
Palestinians.
were lobbying for it for a long time too. They wanted that.
Okay.
But they
got the green light.
right. They got the green light. But yeah,
And by all the United Nations, or whatever, the League of Nations, whatever the fuck or I don't know, it was UN.
it was and in fact,
Yeah, it was
had
League
been
of
a long time.
Nations.
Originally, it was the League of Nations, but no, it was the UN had just been established after World War II, which is what set up the state. And when I was doing kind of a deep dive on all of this history in the past week, I was shocked to see. I guess I maybe knew this at one point, but the USSR was in support of it too. One of the very few times that
Oh, you want to know who
the United
else?
States and the USSR were on board with each other.
You want to know who else is a big time supporter too? China. China
Right.
is a major ally and a major
Really?
trade partner to Israel. Yes, absolutely.
that's what RFK Jr. was talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the COVID was doesn't affect
Oh my
the
God,
Chinese-
okay.
But yeah, no,
Ethan, please.
It's not.
God damn it.
You know, remember that when people in the chat will say like, "Oh, you fucking major defender of China." No, I think that China is also not exactly a fucking equal party here, or one that
It's like what I said from the beginning. Like a bunch of countries that aren't doing anything are as equally as complicit.
is advocating for
And I mean, who are also supporting quietly from the sidelines, obviously.
reasonable solutions. I think that there is a reason why they are not saying anything. They're
Yep.
not coming out with like big declarations as they normally would in an effort to be like, look at America being fucking imperialist again or whatever.
But just to finish my point when you were in the
Go ahead.
bathroom is that I think it's unfairly reductive to say it's not complicated. You know, going back to the establishment of Israel, the duplicity
I
of
don't
the
think-
English, going back to the skirmishes and all there's been
Who's saying that,
atrocities on
though?
both sides from the beginning. Okay. Obviously, Israel has continued to take more and more as they've enjoyed the benefit of funding and support from the international community. But to write it off as like the Israelis are just genocidal is unfairly reductive.
I don't think that Israelis
Mm.
are genocidal, even though there are certainly Israelis that are genocidal.
are, yes.
Americans that are genocidal.
Americans as well,
Palestinians are
true.
genocidal.
Like, see,
Just
but
saying,
but-
there's people. who
Wait,
are,
wait,
I'm
wait.
just
What are you
saying,
saying?
sure. Like, see,
Just
but
saying, everyone's
genocidal.
Palestinians are genocidal.
Palestinians are genocidal. Again, he's doing this thing where everyone's equal. He's doing this thing where he's comparing two groups and making it seem like they have equal suffering. It's not equal. This is like saying, well, the slaves kill people too. the slave owners kill a bunch of black slaves and exploit them and abuse them and dehumanize them. And then you hear another white dude go, well, the slaves do that too. You hear how stupid that sounds? I think Ethan, unironically, is the one simplifying things way too much. And that's why a lot of people, a lot of viewers, including me, decided to unsubscribe from him and not support him anymore as a content creator because he's a liberal genocidal freak. He keeps doing that, and now he's gone like wacko mode as of now. I think he's planning on taking a week off or something to make another fucking just like bunch of videos trying to get Hassan deplatformed from Twitch. Palestinians are genocidal, bruh. Like, okay.
Like, see,
Just saying, there's people who are. I'm just saying.
Yeah, sure.
That's simplifying.
Everybody has genocidal mania.
I think that like.
Am I not? Is that bother you?
1988.
Hold on.
No.
Does that bother you that I said?
Of course there are. But the reason
bothers
why
me.
I think it's like laughable is because like, which direction is the genocide happening?
Bro, I know.
You know what I mean?
Which direction?
Like it's.
Bro, I know. Then why would you say that? You sound so stupid when you say stuff like that, Ethan. Oh my god. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because Ethan is like gaslighting so hard right now, trying to make it seem like he's being very reasonable here. And Hassan is just being a bit hysterical. But it's like, bro, you're comparing fucking a group of people literally having the power to wipe out an entire population, and then in that population, you're comparing these two people equally. It's crazy.
Usually, I don't think. I think that you have moral clarity overall, which is why this is a much more charitable conversation. But I think plenty of people do not have that moral clarity.
They don't.
And when they are using the condemn Hamas line, it's not necessarily to get your perspective. It's to deflect away from you talking about Palestinian emancipation and all of the the wrongs that they.
Even though everything you're saying is right, to diminish this idea that there are Palestinians, terrorists mostly. I'm not saying all Palestinians. I don't think most Palestinians even support.
Then why are you calling them Palestinians? Just say Hamas. You're literally. Again, and it's like I said earlier, like it's dangerous to just assume something of a group of people. It's wrong for you to assume that all Jews are genocidal, but it's not wrong of you to assume that those who are part of the military and those who are civilians who support said military are genocidal. There's a fucking difference. And those people usually tend to call themselves the Z word that I won't say because it's apparently a banned term on Twitch. Idiotically so, but you know. So it's like, no, yeah, the Z words are the ones that are genocidal, not the Jews. But here is Ethan Klein equating Palestinians to Hamas.
Support Hamas, that saying that Palestinians who want genocide of Jews isn't relevant because, again,
they don't even say that. The ones who are saying that are the other side. Like you can easily just, I think we reacted to TikToks from like average civilians who participated in the military, who are just now normal civilians. We've watched TikToks of them like being incredibly racist and just so mocking the suffering of Palestinian people. I've seen more videos of that from Israel than from Palestine.
it affects the Israeli paranoia. It affects the Jewish paranoia, the paranoia psyche, the Israeli psyche. So, like, even though it's absurd, you say that's silly because the Israelis are doing the genocide, still fucking feeds into the pathology of what it means to be an Israeli.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but ultimately, getting swept away in demanding condemnations over and over again is entirely unproductive and also not reflective of the reality of the American population's attitudes towards the defense of Israel and
I don't think that's a fair
occupation.
I don't think that's a fair assessment of what I'm
fair.
asking.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
No, you're saying.
But like there is
the expectation of constant condemnation of Palestinians against Hamas is not what I'm advocating for.
If you want,
just to be totally clear, because I know people think that about me.
Then what are you saying, brother? Then why do you keep directing the conversation to the Israelis' feelings every goddamn time to this day, to the point where you're trying to deplatform pro-Palestinian creators? Gaslighter, bruh.
If you want to talk about, like, if right now you want to talk about Palestinian emancipation, whether you are Jewish or whether you are Arab, whether you are Muslim, it does not matter. If you talk about Palestinian emancipation at any point during this endless occupation and senseless brutality, you are immediately met with condemn Hamas. Why do you love Hamas? Yep. Why do you want to
not support that? That's a different thing.
I know, but
okay, I just want to make that clear.
You and I having this back and forth.
I just want to make it clear because people think that's what I think, and I want to make it clear that what I'm saying
move on, bro.
is different entirely to expecting everyone to constantly condemn Hamas. That's not what I think people need to do.
What you have. You have a different perspective on the matter that is not widely shared in the Western world. And that is no better demonstrated by the actions that people are taking against the fucking Harvard Students Association versus like what the Israeli paper of records perspective is, which is identical to said Harvard Students Association.
And the sad part about what you said is that you say Westerners don't agree with that, and you're right. But a lot of Israelis do. And that's fucked up. That people, you know what I mean? Because that's not what people see.
Okay.
Even though
now that we've established that,
let's talk about.
Do you understand that what I mean when I say there's a double standard?
There is a double standard. Yes.
The callous indifference that people demonstrate to the death toll. Over and over again. I mean, we're talking about dudes that literally Benjamin Netanyahu, when in 2008. People living under brutal occupation in the world's largest open-air prison in Gaza, where 2 million people live, and 47% of that population is under the age of 14 and under, okay? Where
it's almost half. Half of the population is a child, okay? And they're throwing all of these bombs and soldiers in there in a place with almost half of the population being a child. No one cares, bro. And that's why it's so frustrating. I don't understand why Ethan doesn't get it.
Their water, electricity, like you also pointed out, is controlled by Israel. They did a peaceful march, a demonstration for a right to return. Thousands of children, babies, and adults alike were ruthlessly shot at by Israeli snipers in that right to return as they walked and demonstrated and walked towards that fence, okay? Walked towards that border fence that traps them inside of Gaza. Thousands. While that was happening, if you had seen, or maybe you weren't paying attention, maybe you didn't see this, the media coverage of the matter was some of the most disgusting I have ever seen. While that was happening, the Trump administration was pushing to further annex Jerusalem and offer it in its entirety and recognize it as Israeli, which is, of course, a major point of contention and has never been never been allowed by the international authority, completely unjustifiable, inhumane, immoral. Okay? So on the one hand, the Trump administration alongside the Israeli government were celebrating this action. On the other hand, on the other side of Israel proper, you had babies being fucking slaughtered, medics, press, journalists. And
there's a double standard.
Yes,
absolutely.
Now, hold on. This is really important. This is really important to understand. Okay? If you demonstrate peacefully and get slaughtered, and then Benjamin Netanyahu goes on television and says, callously, these are telegenically dead children. Palestinians have telegenically dead children. If former Israeli ambassadors are going on TV and saying Hamas is using these babies as meat shields, that
when
somehow Israel is like RoboCop,
they were
or this like
peaceful
force
protesters
that simply cannot stop itself from butchering, slaughtering fucking Gazans, and it's always in the hands of Hamas. And that is the constant position in both American media, and it is reflected in polling over and over again, where more than 50% of Americans side with Israel on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and only 9% of Americans actually side with Palestinians on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Me.
Constantly going back and forth about like what the DSA-affiliated organization doing like a Free Palestine demonstration or whatever in the aftermath of October 7, and saying that feels like you're in defense of Hamas, sweaty, is unproductive, and it also doesn't even reflect anything. It doesn't reflect the reality. We know that in the Western world, Palestinians have no...
it's like, it's emotional. You can't blame people for seeing that and getting upset.
But if you
just
recognize
can't.
But we
that,
have
then
to
you
tell them.
recognize
We have to
when
recognize
you see a
it.
sea of I stand with Israel.
That,
I stand with Israel. Israel must ethnically cleanse Gaza.
I
No.
do.
And
I do
varying
recognize
degrees
that.
of people saying that.
I always have.
Then how are Muslims
Stop
in
derailing
America
then.
that have lived in a massive surveillance state post 9/11? How are Muslims in the Western world who are constantly treated like fucking dogs, who literally are used as a political pawn, even though their homes have been destabilized by America's unjustifiable post 9/11 actions in the form of the war on terror? How are they supposed to think, oh, well, I guess everybody wants us fucking dead. I guess everybody wants the Palestinians to die. Everyone thinks that this is the normal position. Everyone thinks this is the constant position. Like, of course, they are going to look at that and think the exact same things that you're saying Israelis are feeling, the exact paranoia that Israelis are feeling. And quite
exactly. See, he's actually giving a valid criticism. Like Ethan just focused on the poor Israelis' feelings, right? But oh my god, like Hassan just gave like so many examples of how much these people suffer, especially that one peaceful protest of these Palestinian people going to the border to want peace, to want peace, and they all got shot at, and thousands of people were killed, including children, because even children went there. Even medics were attacked. I feel like the Palestinians feel more like the world hates them than the fucking Israelis do. Are you kidding me? It's unfair.
frankly, if we look at the asymmetry of violence, if we look at the displacements, if we look at the subjugation, the brutal colonial occupation of not only Palestinians, but many other Muslim countries that have also been ruthlessly occupied and slaughtered by Western coalition forces, it is perfectly understandable and well within the right of Muslims to look at that and be understandably paranoid, and not necessarily paranoid thinking that, you know, you are going to have Hamas forces do a second Holocaust in Israel, when the exact opposite is happening to Palestinians right now. Do you disagree?
I don't know why he's
Okay.
offended
All
by
right.
this.
That's why I think it's unproductive that a lot of, not you, but like especially so many liberals in America are like, oh man, the optics of this look really bad. And also, you know, Palestinians really fucked up their chances of emancipation. It's like, you have to be oblivious to the reality, and I know you're not, but others
Oh no, Hassan, he is. He is.
have to be.
That's why he's offended. But we all get. This was during the time when we were all charitable towards Ethan. Not no more, of course, but like.
Oblivious to the reality of the Palestinian existence to make such callous takes, to be like, oh, well, optics sweaty. No, the optics in that situation just imply
it does
that
matter. Optics do matter.
I know optics matter, but optics don't matter because optics matter in general, but optics do not matter when we talk about the plight of Palestinians, because there's not a single person that is out there defending them in the Western world, whether it be elected officials or whether it be people in the media. And those who choose to do that, those who choose to stand up and say, no, Palestinians deserve emancipation.
They do.
I'm not saying you're not one of these people, but those who do stand up and say that, okay, they get immediately cast as a terrorism defender. And I saw the spiritual consequences of that in a post 9/11 America. We are still living in the rubbles of post 9/11 America and its attitude towards Muslims and its attitude towards Islam in general.
It made us all racist. It did.
Oh man, it does seem like this is somehow even worse than that. Because I guess it didn't impact Americans directly, so they can be even more bloodthirsty without any fear that there could be violent retaliation.
Right. I think we both have said our piece on this, and maybe we can move on to another topic now, because there is other stuff I want to talk
Ben
about.
Shapiro got mad at me.
I didn't actually watch that yet.
Are we going to get to the Taylor Swift film soon?
Hold on, there is stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
This great March of Return is fucking crazy, though. Just reading about this.
And
fucking.
I'm gonna see.
100 and, what does it say?
Yeah, this was a
We're
really
talking
rough
about 2018
episode.
March, the freedom, the right to return.
I'm just reading about it. 40 kids, 190 Palestinians were killed.
You know what the IDF,
protests.
you know what the
Thousands were
IDF official
injured.
account posted and then deleted? Shouts out to B'Tselem one more time. Wonderful organization. Okay, wonderful Israeli organization, by the way. They captured it before IDF deleted it, because this shows the indifference.
What did they tweet?
They said every single bullet was accounted for.
Wow.
Here, read out the casualty reports.
It says 190 Palestinians were killed, 40 kids, thousands were injured.
Thousands
There's
were
videos
injured.
of IDF snipers filming, like putting their phone like this,
Oh my God.
propped up against the optics, sniping a child, killing them, hitting them in the head, celebrating that his legs flew up in the air as he was shot, and others around them celebrating.
That's fucking. I mean, that's
No,
demonic.
and
When
I've
you see
seen
that,
stuff
when
like
you
that.
experience that, and then the American dogs
Yes,
in American
bastards.
media refuse to reckon with that violence, and instead turn around and have former Israeli officials say these are Hamas-backed operatives, like the fucking 2-year-old or 4-year-old, the pregnant mother that was shot.
Yeah, the
these
fucking
are Hamas
2-year-old,
operatives that deserve to be fucking killed for peacefully demonstrating. What do? What can you do? No one hears you, and you're constantly backed into a corner. You are going to retaliate.
Yep.
That is, of course, going to happen.
Of
And
course.
Israel needs to understand that. The
And I
Israelis.
think some Israelis do.
Everyone has to
that.
understand that.
And that's
Okay.
In
it's
Israel
like, it's that
especially.
mutual empathy. Like Israelis need to understand why Hamas is attacking them. If they can't understand that, then nobody can be helped. I mean,
Yes.
it's insane to not see their perspective.
The major thing here is that I think this is there's a reason why Israel did not have local media go to the kibbutzes that you were talking about that were slaughtered. They originally went immediately. They said, we're having foreign press come here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was a reason for that, because they know that internally the opinion of the Israeli population currently doesn't matter. The Western opinion.
I think
Yeah.
I think the Israeli opinion on the massacre was pretty unified, dude.
Well, what they say about that is that
What the
you
hell?
know,
What
everybody's
the hell?
already.
Hold on one sec, Hila. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
They're saying everybody is already in such grief and broken that they don't need to show this terrible footage, but
I mean,
they're saying it's important for the world to see what happened. So that's
No, it
why.
is
yeah, they're doing
important.
propaganda. It's like, it's
Yeah.
not surprising, is it?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's not. But I'm just saying that, like, I think that
I mean,
there
it
is-
did happen.
I think that there is more.
They're not
It
like
isn't-
putting the bodies there and like putting them in
No,
fucked
no,
up
no, of
ways.
course
I'm
not.
just saying,
That's not
you
what
know,
I'm saying at all.
It's
Come
not
on.
that cynical to send in the
No,
press.
I think that
It's not
I think
cynical.
But they're not sending Palestinians. They're not sending people who are pro-Palestinian. They're sending Westerners that don't give a fuck, that are just producing propaganda to dehumanize Palestinians in a way that isn't very, very blunt, but very cynical. That's why we keep speaking on it. That's why it's so frustrating, because it's like people refuse to see it, especially Ethan and his wife. Well, now I feel like it's on purpose. Now they don't fucking care. But during this time, it was just a lot of people, including Americans, would feel this way.
Cynical at all. In that case.
I think that the coverage from certain Israeli outlets on the matter is more critical on the Netanyahu administration, and showing that, I think, and like the interviews that I've seen as well, of the parents fucking demanding, basically kicking out Israeli Knesset members that are visiting the hospitals, yelling at them, telling them to fuck off, telling them that this is their fault. I think that, like, there's two different reasons for obviously that level of anger. Some of which say you did this to us by being more brutal, and that this violence, of course, is going to be a constant, and it's going to be a violent retaliation. And then there's also the people that are saying you are not violent enough, right?
Yeah,
But
a lot
ultimately,
of
everyone
people are
is
saying
critical of the Israeli government at this point from different angles, and I think that's the reason why they care more about the Western media's opinion than anything else, because they don't want to repeat the mistakes that happened last time in both 2018 and also the Shireen Abu Akleh murder.
So this is where finally we get to where Hassan first introduced me to Shireen's story. Was during this episode, and he really reflects on how important journalism is, and how journalism is used for evil, and for those who try to use it for good, well, they end up suffering a very sad fate. And so Hassan, who's like the #1 political commentator, who at some point used to report on things, I feel like this really hits home, of course. Especially because like he can't really, when you mention a journalist from Palestine, they will get targeted by the Israeli military. And it happened this morning. Like a prominent journalist was just killed this morning, and I think their name was Hassan, I think, as well. Like, and Hassan has mentioned before in his streams that, like, it's not like he can just make it public that he's been talking to these people from Palestine. I mean, he's talked to journalists who have died already in Palestine. And that's why him defending journalism and criticizing evil journalism is very important. That's why he's really heated about this, because of how things are portrayed in the media. So this is where we finally get to hear about Shireen. And after this talk ends, I will focus more on her.
And also the Shireen Abu Akleh murder, again, in the hands of an Israeli sniper that the Israeli government said was actually Palestinians, and Western media immediately disproved that. And then what did the IDF do? What did the IDF do?
I don't know.
When a wonderful when a wonderful voice for good, a Christian woman, a Christian Palestinian, and an American citizen,
American as
Shireen
well.
Abu Akleh, was murdered as she was on her way to one of these refugee camps. She had a press vest on. She had a press helmet on. She was shot in the neck so that she could be assassinated. Okay? This was a major issue. They wanted to do. Sorry, this is really fucked up. They went to her funeral and beat the shit out of people and ripped the Palestinian flag off of her. Palestinians can't have a moment of peace in this fucking world. They can't even mourn the dead. Sorry. The IDF went in and beat the shit out of the Palestinians that were mourning her at her funeral, that were holding her casket, and ripped the Palestinian flag off of her casket. How is that allowed? How can that continue? How do you not see that? That's in the West Bank. This is a Christian woman. This is not a Muslim. This is not Hamas. This is a journalist that was beloved in the Muslim world. And she was assassinated for speaking out and trying to shine a light on the atrocities. It's hard to look, it's very hard to hold my composure on this. This is something I've talked about for years and years.
Yes.
But when that kind of ruthlessness, sound like fucking Jordan Peterson when he talks about men. Jesus Christ. When that kind of brutality is so normal, so normalized, when that's the everyday existence of Palestinians in the supposed collaborative project with the Israeli government, how can you expect them to do anything but violently retaliate?
Yeah.
There's no end in sight for this.
How do you
And now
not retaliate?
you have cynical pieces of shit
That's
on
right.
social media. If you want to talk about social media and people saying stuff on social
on
media,
social
you have
media.
cynical liberal commentators that
Fucking
supposedly
liberals, bro.
adorn the politics of radical emancipation, saying, "Oh, how wonderful that Joe Biden is trying to create an exit corridor, a humanitarian
fuck
corridor
them,
for
man.
those who are being bombed in Gaza right now to escape through Egypt." That's still ethnic displacement. That is not humanitarian.
And they never did
It
it.
is completely unjustifiable. Completely. There is no equivalent. There is no moral equivalence.
No.
There is no equivalence whatsoever. And there is no symmetry in the way that this is covered in the Western media. And that is by design. They refuse to show Palestinians as humans. And they have very successfully been able to dehumanize them.
Yep.
There are voices out there. There are voices in Israel. There are voices out there who see it, who see the brutality, who see the endless humiliation that Palestinian people have endured. And I stand with them, and I don't care. I will always stand with them, even if there is a moment of violent retaliation. Okay?
Yep. That's right.
They have nothing.
They
have no
nothing.
allies. They have nothing in the world. And people celebrate their destruction. It's happening right in front of our eyes. There's nothing. There's no equivalent. It is so horrifying that this can happen in the supposed only democracy in the Middle East, the supposed beacon of prosperity.
Supposedly Israel
in a
is
sea
that,
of
and they're
barbaric
not.
Arabs, right? Who
Mm-mm.
do mass rapes
Yeah.
and
Propaganda.
love to behead people. All of these, some of which are true, by the way, I know. All of these are racist canards
They are.
specifically to heighten the tensions and to justify what Israel is doing in broad daylight in moments that the world even chooses to care about paying attention to what's going on in Gaza. That's why I wanted to make the distinction
Yes.
that what goes on in the West Bank, this is constant. This is every day for Palestinians.
It is.
Every day. It's crazy. Like, I know it's, you can say like, oh, land back movements are supposed to be violent or whatever, but there's nothing more violent than this. This is the violence. It's just that it's legalized. It is state-backed. So we are not trained to see it as a violent act. That's the difference.
Yep.
It's only violent or it's only terrorism when it's a non-state actor or a foreign adversary that engages in it. And that's why if you look at the United Nations, if you look at British or European authorities that have spoken out, correctly condemned Russian atrocities in Ukraine, you will hear silence when it comes to Israel and what Israel has done and what Israel continues to do to Palestinians. Disgusting.
Yep.
Sorry.
And that's it from this specific episode. For me, while I was hearing this at work, I was just crying because it's like, it's true. During that time, I feel more people now agree that Israel is a genocidal entity that is committing a bunch of war crimes and atrocities to the people of Palestine. But back then, like, almost no one would see that, including my own family. And it's frustrating to have to explain over and over again why people are just so fucking brainwashed and wrong for trying to equate things and always not thinking of like how much the Palestinians actually suffer. And looking at this now, it's just even more sad because they are suffering way, way worse things now than from what was happening 2 years ago when this was being recorded. But this is the first time I've ever seen Hassan cry, and a lot of people were surprised as well. But it's because it's like, dude has been reporting on this, talking about this for many years, and to this day, seeing so many journalists being murdered in such a terrible way. It's sad. So let's get to meet Shireen. I'm gonna have to scroll down. On some parts of this, because it does show some graphic images. I will also be kind of whispering more because my neighbor is pissed at me that I'm talking a bit too loud. It's not even that I'm talking loud, but like the walls are so thin you can hear everything. But I will scroll down to not see the graphic stuff. Let's continue. And I will also be reading the subtitles for those who are lurking and not able to read the subtitles. Now let's see if I can make this actually fit more properly in the screen. This is a documentary made by Al Jazeera. Actually, I'll just link it for y'all as well, because we won't watch all of it. But I'll link it to those who would want to watch it. Oh God. That clip always makes me cry. Of Hassan explaining something that many of us felt during that time, and actually just her story just being so tragic. And it was 2 days ago. No, actually, yeah, like 3 days ago, 3 years ago, where she was killed, and we're gonna learn more about her and how that happened.
نذهب مباشرة إلى القدس. تنضم إلينا.
Okay, give me a sec. We go live to Jerusalem.
شيرين أبو عقلة.
Shireen Abu Akleh
كيف
joins us. Shireen, what does
تبدو طبيعة
the
الموقف
situation look like right now?
نعم التوتر ما زال على حاله.
Now, this is her reporting, doing her job. So, let me make this clear. Shireen, can you guys think of like a famous news reporter from your country that is beloved by everyone? The first person that pops in your head. I feel like every country has at least one of those, right? So Shireen was one of those people. She was a very loved news reporter, a Palestinian American Christian woman, who reported the news on the suffering of Palestinians. She was like one of the only rare people in the news who would do that. Not everyone, but the guy who does the news here is quite liked, actually. Not everyone. You're right. Like, I mean, there's a lot of news people who aren't quite liked, right? But for that one guy, like, that's basically Shireen. This is her. She's that guy. I want you to, like, this is me trying to help you guys connect with this person. Why is this person so important? Well, she was just beloved by the Palestinian people because, you know, of course she was Palestinian herself, but she always, all the time, reported the news on what was happening to her people. Right now, she's doing her job. We're seeing her in action. I mean, not everyone likes the guy, mostly the right-wing people, but otherwise, he's the most trusted journalist, basically. You know, we have a lot of those people as well, like, in my country. Not even in my country, but, like, I watch the news in Spanish in America, surprisingly enough. I mean, it's not surprising. My parents can only understand Spanish. So, like, the person I can think of the most is Jorge Ramos. That's the journalist me and my parents, like, watch and we trust. And, you know, he's always speaking for the Latinos in America who suffer, right? And other news, of course. So, like, I think of him and I'm like, I immediately trust Jorge Ramos, you know. To the Palestinian people, that was Shireen. The guy is called Armin Wolf. He's the head news guy in the national TV channel. Okay. And so, yeah, that basically, that's who Shireen is to the Palestinian people. So I will do my best to read the captions. I hope I'm not too loud. Let me see the volume here. Okay. Tensions remain at the Al Asqaf gate. Palestinians are not allowed to enter. They're telling her to leave, the Israeli soldiers. Sometimes you cover certain stories in which the challenges are emotional and sometimes they are physical. How do you protect yourself and stay safe?
شيرين أبو عقلة الجزيرة قرب حاجز بيت إيل شمال رام الله.
Shireen, ambulance.
Veteran Palestinian American journalist and Al Jazeera correspondent Shireen Abu Akleh was killed while reporting on an Israeli military raid in the occupied West Bank. The question of who was responsible was raised immediately, even if the answer was clear to many.
We had barely stopped at the scene and began our coverage when the occupation Israeli military started shooting at us. The journalist has become a target for them because they tell the real story, the Palestinian story, and they don't want to hear it. Shireen was murdered in cold blood.
In this episode of Fault Lines, we speak to witnesses from that day, to her family.
When a U.S. citizen is killed, the administration has failed to do its bare minimum.
Yep.
And search for answers and
Again,
accountability
she's American
in
as
the
well.
killing of Shireen Abu Akleh.
I don't think we were targeted as journalists. I'm sure we were targeted as journalists. Oh, she's saying, no, I don't think I know. We ourselves are afraid of the soldiers' fear. It became easy for a soldier to pull the trigger. Made by Fault Lines.
When
the Israelis entered, it was about 5:30. I received this video. I didn't film it myself.
May 11th began early for Ali Samoudi.
I went out to the location and I filmed this at 6:03.
At the time, Israel, which illegally occupies the West Bank, had been conducting more and more military raids in the northern city of Jenin.
Over the past few days before May 11th, there was a lot of talk about an Israeli operation and an invasion.
So this is the last video. This is what made you decide where to meet up, where was a safe place to meet.
Ali's worked as a journalist in Jenin for over 30 years and often worked with Shireen when she traveled to cover the area.
Shireen and I had agreed that if there was anything happening in the area, I would call her. Her phone was always on. She never turned it off. I called her and I told her, Shireen, the occupation invaded the camp and this may be an operation. She told me, okay, I am coming. Watch how the situation is and we're coming. Shireen called me and told me and the crew to get ready quickly because there's an invasion of Jenin camp.
Majdi Barnoura started the same month as Shireen at Al Jazeera in 1997 and frequently filmed with her. This deployment was no exception.
We arrived at the camp. We arrived at the Al Afdwa roundabout, which is the western entrance to the camp. There wasn't anything. It was completely calm.
When they arrived, they met up with Ali as well as other journalists there, including Shata Hanaisha and Mujahid al-Saadi.
I remember when Shireen arrived, she greeted us, she was joking and was laughing with us. In the camp, there was shooting, as in like, I'm assuming they mean shooting like recording. But in the area, oh wait, no, I'm so wrong. I deeply apologize. No, literally, like there were shootings. They could hear the shootings. But in the area where we were walking, there was no clashes, no presence of resistant fighters. Shireen and I had put on our bulletproof vests. There were young people present saying, look, the army is up ahead. The army is in the camp up there. There are so many soldiers, so many.
The group of journalists drew a crowd of civilians as well, including Salim Awad. He started a live video around 6:24 a.m. on the social media app TikTok.
Are the jeeps visible? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna film the jeeps.
A few minutes after he started filming, he ran past the journalists to get a glimpse of the Israeli convoy up the street.
I stood here and I zoomed in. There they are, the soldiers are here. There they are. I cross the street again. Take 1, 10, and this is them joking, by the way. Take one last picture of me in case they kill me. No, there was a joking atmosphere. There were some young people and we were kidding around with them. And they were laughing with us. So for me, there wasn't anything to worry about or to fear. It was a normal morning, a normal work day. That's how it started anyway. We put the helmet on Shireen. I got my camera and I wore the helmet and I followed her. We were all wearing our protective gear, a vest and helmet. We stood so that they can see us all well and recognize us as journalists.
This is Ali and Shireen walking by Salim.
When we made sure that there was no confrontations, we started walking slowly with slow steps.
And about 25 seconds later, here they are walking with Shada and Mujahid up the street, all in their press jackets, just past the spot where Salim had a view of the military.
And as you could see in here, suddenly a round of bullets was fired. I shouted, Shireen, they're shooting at us. We got to get out of here. Just as I was saying, we have to get out of here, my shoulder exploded. I shouted, Shireen, I was shot, or I said, Shireen, they shot me. After the first bullet, I was able to jump behind a short wall to take shelter in. Shireen and Shanta reached me to jump and get out of the place, but they couldn't. They started firing at us. I immediately pressed record. I saw Ali was wounded. He walked away. Shireen was behind the tree. I could still see her hiding behind the tree. There she is. Ali has been wounded. The last words that Shireen said was, Ali has been wounded. Ali has been wounded. I mean, these ears every day, all the time. Shireen's voice is repeating in my ears. I stepped forward again and they started saying, Shireen, Shireen. But they shot at us again. Muhammad, I have a blank spot in my mind. I don't remember how I got behind the tree.
عقلي زي سواد مش قادرة أتذكر تماما أنا كيف وصلت ورا الشجرة. وصلت ورا الشجرة.
I got behind the tree and turned around to see Shireen could come to where I was. At that point, I saw Shireen falling to the ground. I didn't understand that she was gravely wounded. Ambulance. I stepped forward and saw Shireen on the ground, and so I'm scrolling down because you will see her body on the ground. They don't censor it, and I'm not sure. I mean, there isn't any blood because like she fell face first onto the floor. There's no blood. But this is pretty violent, and she's wounded in this scene. And so if you guys want to see like evidence, see it for yourself, again, the link I put it in the chat. But currently she's on the floor, just laying there. I stepped forward and saw Shireen on the ground. I'm holding the camera. I bent down. I want to walk and walk towards Shireen. Stay where you are. There she is. Don't move, Muhammad. Don't move. Who was shot? Shireen. Shireen. Ambulance. Shireen. Ambulance.
كل الوقت بدي
The whole
بدي
time
أحاول
I wanted to shake her, to touch her, to move her.
ألمسها أحركها بس كمان كان في جواتي خوف
But I was so
إنه
filled with fear because the
الشجرة هي اللي
tree
حاميتنا
was what
ممكن
was
لو أنا
protecting
حركتها
us.
ممكن هي ترجع
And I moved her,
تتصاب
maybe she would be wounded again.
بتذكر
I
لما
remember
طلعت
I
على
saw the
الأرض
blood
وشفت
on the
الدم
ground
لما بلش
when the
الدم
blood
ينزل
started coming out.
ووقتها أنا استوعبت
Oh,
إنه
now they're
رصاصة
censoring it.
براسها وبلشت
And I
أصرخ
realized she took a bullet to the head. And I started shouting, "It's her head, it's her head."
إنه براسها براسها.
Every time she moved, there was shooting. I tried to approach, but I couldn't. Pull her. Pull her. Pull her.
A young man named Sharif jumped over the wall to try and help, but he was also fired at.
They're screaming to pull her out, desperately. Despite the intensity of the shooting, he was able to save Shatha and help her jump behind the wall.
من كثافة إطلاق الرصاص قدر إنه ينقذ شذا ويخليها تقفز خلف السور. كنت أنا وياها نراقب شو اللي راح يحصل.
She and I were watching to see what would happen to Sharif while he pulled Shireen. I jumped the wall and pulled her with him. And you knew that she had died while she wasn't moving. Her eyes fluttered, but maybe that was her final heartbeats.
أنا كنت في المستشفى وقاعدين بيعالجوا فيي.
I was in the hospital and they were treating me, and I was convinced that these were my last moments on earth.
وخلص يعني أنا عندي قناعة إنه أنا هاي لحظاتي الأخيرة في الدنيا. فسمعت صوت إسعاف جاي. فأنا
I heard the
بسألهم
sound
مين
of
اللي
the
اتصاب.
ambulance coming, so I'm asking them who got shot. Hopefully it'll be okay. And I'm just moving my shoest thing here because I don't like the I only have one monitor, guys. My bad for this looking kind of weird sometimes. Okay.
بخير يا رب. اللي هم بيقولوا لي
They tell me
شيرين.
it was Shireen. Oh my god. And I'm gonna pause it on there. I have in my notes that I should move this to skip to 23:22. Let me try to make sure
ساعتها شعرت
nothing
إنه هاي رصاصة تانية
graphic
وصابتني.
shows. There we go. So we're back to him. In that moment, I felt like there was another bullet that hit me. So let's go to 23:44 and see how the American government and Israeli government reacted to their soldiers, their snipers, purposely aiming at journalists that were clearly journalists, and resulting in the murder of Shireen Abu Akleh. 23:44.
But you don't pay a price in the public arena because, hey, we're investigating. And legally speaking, these sham investigations are a legal iron dome to protect Israeli soldiers from potential international legal consequences. They're trying to block the path for international jurisdiction, and they're trying to win the public relations game.
The United States seems to be relying heavily on the Israeli investigation of the killing. Do you think that's adequate?
It's not just not adequate, it's outrageous.
Yep.
Like, this isn't happening in a vacuum. There are hundreds of other case files. This is well-established facts that Israel does not conduct investigations that are meant to arrive at holding people accountable.
Everyone wept because everyone watched her every day. Everyone would wake up to her during the morning news and, you know, be devastated sometimes by what was reported on, but at least they had someone reporting and speaking up for them. And that person was shot in the fucking neck, in the head, in the neck, by an Israeli sniper.
For Shireen's family, the US backing of the Israeli investigation was particularly upsetting, especially after President Biden declined to meet with them in both Palestine and Washington.
We really expected lots more.
Hello,
from the
please read
US
the pin, by
government,
the
but
way.
We're not getting anything. There's nothing except sweet talking and condolences, something anyone can do.
He preaches about press freedom, protection of journalists, but the way he did not hold the same values when Shireen was killed was very, very upsetting, and it just showed the double standards when a Palestinian American journalist is killed.
Yep. She was American, guys. And Biden didn't give a fuck.
This is an American citizen.
Yep.
We have a duty to pursue the facts wherever they lead, as Secretary Blinken himself said.
Senator Chris Van Hollen has led a group of his colleagues in pushing the Biden administration to investigate
Have a good talk.
Shireen's killing.
Thank you, God.
Why do you think the State Department hasn't conducted an independent investigation yet?
Their new view, not the original words of the Secretary, is
Feel
that,
free to
they
stay,
will
but
take
you don't
these
have
other
to.
investigations that have been completed. The problem, the challenge is they've reached very different conclusions. You have, first of all, the IDF report justifies the shooting and the shooting death based on claims that there was a crossfire. But you also have independent analyses that have been done that clearly dispute that claim.
I mean, we saw the clip. They were just walking, having a normal talk, and then all of a sudden, and it was completely quiet, by the way. We weren't hearing like active crossfire like they're saying. Their claim was it was an accident. There was crossfire. It was not their fault, but clearly from the evidence, they was completely quiet. They were wearing their vests. They felt safe in that area. It was literally a sniper camping and purposely shooting at them multiple times. Shooting to kill for no reason other than to silence those who speak for Palestinians.
And the IDF has not put the facts on the table that show how it reached that conclusion. They've not made public their analysis.
This was a U.S. citizen. Do you believe the administration has upheld their duty?
I do not.
Nope.
I think we have a duty
And they still haven't
to
after
do what
3
the
years.
Secretary of State originally said. They appear to have backed off, but I believe, and many of my colleagues believe, that we've got to get to the bottom of this and it cannot be swept under the rug.
The State Department declined to make Secretary of State Blinken available to speak with us. And in an interview, a department spokesperson continually deferred to the U.S. Security Coordinator's report and the Israeli investigation.
U.S. Security Coordinator on the ground worked with both Palestinians and Israelis, in some cases physically bridging those two investigations to prepare his own set of findings.
Let me just ask you about the central claim in the Israeli military's report that if an Israeli soldier killed her, it was because Shireen was caught in exchange of fire by Palestinian gunmen in the area.
Nope.
That claim is completely disputed by eyewitness testimony and video footage from...
And that whoever's watching right now or was hearing me describe has witnessed. We've all witnessed it. If you've witnessed it, if you witnessed the same thing that I just witnessed, we can agree 100% that the government, the Israeli government, and also the American government are lying.
from that area in the minutes leading up to and during the shooting. Doesn't that discrepancy concern you?
Of course, we are concerned when there are allegations that a civilian was
Allegations,
intentionally
there's
targeted.
evidence.
What the Israelis found and what our security coordinator found was that there appears to have been no intentionality.
No, it was completely quiet. No crossfire at all. The video shows that no one was shooting people. It was not a war zone. It was a safe area that was perceived.
Thank you so much. Arigatou
Oh,
gozaimasu, brother.
hello, Homer. Thank you for the raid. Thank you for the raiders. Welcome in, Rainers. I forgot that you have the dancing emo. I'm just like, yo, whenever I see it. Right now, we're doing politics, and we're talking about Hola Chiquitita. Homer, no. Homer. Out of all people, I never expected you to say that. Let me tell you, only call Mela that, okay? Don't call other girlies that, okay? Hola chiquitita. Don't call me that with Zaya's emo either. Oh my god, look, he looks so cute dancing though. Da, 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 da. That's the wrong song. Okay, grippy chair. But anyway, we're doing politics. Actually, I really hope that people can read the pinned. It's a really serious stream, actually, and it's very heavy, intense trigger warning. We're actually talking about the murder of someone and remembering them. So I don't want the grippy chair, honestly, on the screen. There we go. And yeah, if you guys want to hear about a journalist that it's actually her third year anniversary ever since she was killed. And so I really want to reflect that and get to know them and encourage people to be more aware of social issues. If you'd like to hear me out and hear me talk about this, feel free to stay. But if you don't worry. It's fine. I understand. Feel free to leave the stream or go rest and stuff. But let me shout out Homer for the raid. Really appreciate it. Exclamation mark. Señor. Homer. Boom. 420. Boop. Go follow them, y'all. What the hell? It's not working. It didn't appear. Ore? Yo! The Homer doesn't exist. Let me turn on the music while I figure this out. Okay, let's do the official one then. Shout out Mr. Homer. Do I have to @ you? Okay, Chama Boomer. Okay, listen. Boop. Like that? There you go. I gave you a shout out in the chat. To whoever hasn't followed Homer at this point, I think you kind of should, because like if you've seen me, I'm pretty sure you've seen Homer. They're really funny. They're actually one of my first supporters when it comes to me talking about Palestine. I think Homer was one of the first people to donate to my Palestinian charity, actually, and would I think they're literally one of the biggest supporters in that. So I really appreciate Homer for and giving me motivation to do TamaTalks as well. Thank you. Take care lots and be kind. Yes. No problem. I'm going to continue me talking about this serious topic. So thank you to all who stay and listen to me. I'm almost done, probably another 30 minutes. But let's continue. Let me explain what we've talked about so far. So far, we've witnessed a very disturbing video of the events of what led to this very loved journalist from Palestine being murdered by an Israeli sniper. To those who watched it with me, and if you haven't watched it, this will be posted in, well, if YouTube doesn't like strike down my video like it usually does. But I really recommend you guys subscribing to my YouTube to be able to watch all of my TamaTalks, especially this one, or watch the VOD on Twitch. But we all saw that there was no crossfire. America and Israel were claiming that there was crossfire and that this poor woman was shot at by accident. No, we just witnessed this woman having a stroll, walking with her coworkers, and all of a sudden, wham, someone snipes her in the neck and she's dead. And right now we have this is a documentary of that. We have a journalist talking to representatives from America, asking them, hey guys, there's clear evidence that this is a murder. And we just finished hearing this guy lying and denying it by saying, hey, sorry, but the Israeli military and the American government says that this was not intentional. And it was. So let's continue watching that. Boop.
Our security coordinator found no reason to believe that Shireen Abu Akleh was intentionally targeted
Have you seen the footage?
By Israeli. Of course, and I have
no, you have not
looked at everything.
And if you have, then you're lying.
In the public domain.
They're lying.
Clearly, they have not done what they said themselves they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Secretary of State said there would be an independent investigation. There has not been an independent investigation.
Punching my mic.
Backing off sends the wrong message around the world.
Beyond the State Department, we wanted to ask the White House about Shireen.
The White House.
Thank you. I have a question on the killing of Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. The U.S. Security Coordinator's report was not an investigation. It was based on the Israeli investigation, the PA's investigation. There was a ballistics analysis done that was inconclusive. None of the key eyewitnesses have even been interviewed. Why has the U.S. not conducted an independent investigation to the killing of an American citizen?
That's even crazy. This Palestinian journalist was American. Okay? This is why it's so serious. They just killed an American citizen. And, well, let's see what this guy says.
From the very beginning, that we wanted it fully transparently investigated. We recognize that the Israelis did conduct a thorough investigation.
But why would you let the people who are... Okay, everyone's saying that these people killed her. Why are you letting the alleged killer do the investigation? That's what happened with Ted Bundy. Like, didn't Ted Bundy eventually like represent himself? And he's actually the reason why that is illegal now. Like, you can't let the criminal represent themselves in court for honestly quite very obvious reasons. I do understand why. They're just gaslighting us. It's like, well, the Israeli military says that it was not intentional, Lamau. And it's like, okay, bruh. Okay.
Do you characterize it as a thorough investigation when no key eyewitnesses have been interviewed and there's clear video evidence that contradicts the central claim in the killing of a U.S. citizen?
Well, again, we continue to mourn with the family, and this obviously should not have happened. But I'm not going to speak any more about the investigation that's been completed.
Last question.
That has not been completed. And we just also have watched the family testify that no one tried to communicate them, including President Biden. So other than like trying to put this under the rug, you know? So the thing is like we also watched Hassan react to this, and actually I kind of want to, because I found out about this story through Hassan, and honestly I feel like since we have people here, Hassan telling this story is, you know, what made me realize for the first time what happened, right? And made me realize how important it is to be speaking out on this, because people just don't fucking know how much the Palestinian people suffer. And Shireen Abu Akleh, again, I'm going to say this again, I just want you to imagine a loved news reporter, a national news reporter that everyone recognizes, that you recognize. Imagine that person that you trust and you recognize who reports on the news. That was Shireen for the Palestinian people. And right now in this conversation, Hassan is trying to talk to their co-host in the dangers of equating the pain, making the pain equal between Israel and Palestine. It's dangerous to do that. It's dangerous to complain about the feelings of the people of Israel, which of course they've suffered as well, but not as much as the Palestinian people. And that's why Hassan is pretty frustrated in this clip, and why he ends up mentioning Shireen and teaching us about what happened to Shireen, and trying to tell us, hey, this is why you will eventually get resistance from the Palestinian people. You have to put yourself in these people's shoes, because look at what happened to Shireen. So this is that clip. And I apologize if I get emotional. I'm going to cry. I already cried while watching this. But again, trigger warning. I just feel like this is very important, so we as people, as humans, can humanize Palestinian people and hopefully make good decisions in our personal lives to help them. And by doing that, the easiest way to do that is by boycotting
Netanyahu administration, and showing that, I think, and like the interviews that I've seen as well, of the parents fucking demanding, basically kicking out Israeli Knesset members that are visiting the hospitals, yelling at them, telling them to fuck off.
So right here, he's talking about how the Israeli military doesn't care about sometimes its own citizens' opinions. They actually care about the Western opinion, which is why they try to cater to the Western media a lot. And you see a lot of English news reporting on this, because they want the world to just be okay with people slaughtering Palestinians.
What did the IDF do? And Palestinians, the hands of an Israeli sniper, Akleh in both than anything else. More about like, they care more about the Western media's opinion than anything else, because they don't want to repeat the mistakes that happened last time in both 2018 and also the Shireen Abu Akleh murder. Again, in the hands of an Israeli sniper that the Israeli government said was actually Palestinians, and Western media immediately disproved that. And then what did the IDF do? What did the IDF do?
I don't know.
When a wonderful voice for good, a Christian woman, a Christian Palestinian, and an American citizen, Shireen Abu Akleh, was murdered as she was on her way to one of these refugee camps. She had a press vest on. She had a press helmet on. She was shot in the neck so that she could be assassinated. Okay? This was a major issue. They wanted to do, sorry, this is really fucked up. They went to her funeral and beat the shit out of people and ripped the Palestinian flag off of her.
And this is the evidence. They couldn't. We just witnessed, to whoever watched, we witnessed her being murdered. A national hero from Palestine. And what they ended up doing is that they literally did beat the shit of those who were mourning her before they buried her. And this is the evidence of that. I want people to witness this and realize how important it is to talk about these things and research on it.
Thousands came to say their goodbyes. Many here feeling they knew Shireen personally. That's how much she connected with her audience, telling the story of her people, and now becoming the story.
So many people love her and will continue to love her through the strength of her reporting, but also the love that the people around the world have for us in Palestine. People know that what Israel's doing is a war crime, and they feel helpless, but today we don't.
Look at them.
The occupation she long reported on.
Look at them.
Just as the coffin started its final journey to the church.
Look at them. Why are they doing that?
Mourners were pushed and beaten by Israeli forces as they stormed the hospital square. The pallbearers retreating, her coffin nearly falling to the ground. Border police in riot gear, on horseback. Baffling scenes. At least one man pulled out of the hearse. Israeli forces also removing the Palestinian flag.
I knew they were not going to let this day go by peacefully. I was on the front lines when we were trying to exit
her
the
niece.
hospital while they were carrying her casket. And the troop, they just stormed in and they were beating up everyone. It was very frightening, to be honest.
There was also tension when Shireen's body arrived outside the church in the Christian quarter of the old city. Crowds filling the small streets of this ancient city. But
Look how much her family is suffering, man.
Granted more peace.
Shireen Abu Akleh brought the message of every Palestinian suffering. God created life not to be assassinated, but to be nurtured.
Abu Akleh was shot dead in the occupied West Bank while on an
Sorry,
assignment
I have
in the
to
Jenin
censor
refugee
that.
camp. Her funeral procession was joined by thousands of Palestinians, a show of the widespread affection and admiration she had earned through her years of reporting on their lives. Shireen Abu Akleh was buried next to her parents at the Mount Zion Cemetery. Both her parents died in the early stages of her career and never knew how loved and respected she'd become. The crowds have gone, the family has gone. Shireen's grave has now been sealed. But even after her death, she continued to tell the Palestinian story. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera, in occupied East Jerusalem.
And this was 3 years ago. And things have gotten so much worse. It's evil. And I just keep talking about it because things have just gotten so much worse. Like it's unbelievable how bad things have gotten. It started out with microaggressions. Then they ended up with murder, killing journalists, and now it's like normal. It's fucking normal to be bombing people in Gaza to be killing children in Gaza, to fucking kill Palestinians and journalists for sport. It's normalized. With this, when I first saw this 2 years ago, I couldn't believe it. But now I wonder, like, oh my God, like, are people even alive who are here mourning her death? Or, you know, are their families alive? Like, it's crazy. And that's why Hassan's crying his eyes out, because it's like, he's the #1 Twitch political commentator who actually fucking cares about people and who has been reporting on this for many years. And this is how I learned about Palestine before October 7th even happened. And it all led up to this poor woman, a national treasure, being sniped and then not even being laid to rest. Why were they beating the shit out of the people carrying her casket? To the point where such disrespect that even the casket almost fell to the ground. And them not wanting, the American government not wanting to do a fucking investigation.
Palestinians can't have a moment of peace in this fucking world.
They don't.
They can't even mourn the dead. Sorry. The IDF went in and beat the shit out of the Palestinians that were mourning her at her funeral, that were holding her casket, and ripped the Palestinian flag off of her casket. How is that allowed? How can that continue? How do you not see that? That's in the West Bank. This is a Christian woman. This is not a Muslim. This is not Hamas. This is a journalist that was beloved in the Muslim world. And she was assassinated for speaking out and trying to shine a light on the atrocities. It's hard to look, it's very hard to hold my composure on this. This is something I've talked about for years and years. But when that kind of ruthlessness, sound like fucking Jordan Peterson when he talks about men. Jesus Christ.
Stop. Shut up.
When that kind of brutality is so normal, so normalized, when that's the everyday existence of Palestinians in the supposed collaborative project with the Israeli government, how can you expect them to do anything but violently retaliate? There's no,
that's the thing, is like, of course there's gonna be retaliation if you're killing people and treating them like shit for their entire lives. And there's just so much more evidence of Israeli people, soldiers, the government committing war crimes. Killing a journalist is a war crime. Going after public places is a war crime. Going after civilians is a war crime. But who cares, I guess? Like, no one is doing anything. And like, again, like, I was muted accidentally when I was saying this, but like, bro, a lot of liberal Vtubers were shitting on people like me who didn't want to vote, who didn't vote, and who didn't want to vote for both Trump and Biden. And did our goddamn American right to express ourselves politically, in saying, hey, I don't want to vote for Hitler 1 and I don't want to vote for Hitler 2, okay? I keep seeing videos of children being fucking mutilated, torn to pieces, and you're telling me that I should vote for Biden when he was the one during this time when this investigation was going on. Biden was the president. He didn't give a fuck. He helped the Israeli government put this under the rug, and to this day, this woman has not seen justice. Instead, when she was before she was buried, they beat the shit out of the people who were carrying her casket. And that's why, and she was killed on May 11th. For me, it's May 14th. It's May 14th. This was 3 years ago. 3 days and 3 years ago, Shireen Abu Akleh was assassinated without warning, for no reason, targeted, simply because she was a journalist. And that was the start of normalizing what is happening. Not the start, but the continuation and the worsening of what is currently happening in Palestine. And to whoever is still watching and to whoever is actually hearing me out, I just urge people to have this implanted in their memory and just know and distinguish who is in the wrong, and also to have the courage to speak out when someone is saying, hey, but Hamas, hey, but Hamas. No, Hamas. She was not Hamas. The 50% of the population of Palestine, 50% of those people are children. Those children are not Hamas. Hamas is a very small entity, a handful of people. The entire population of Palestine is not Hamas. The best way to help these people, the easiest way and the best way to help these people is to boycott McDonald's, boycott the small group of big companies that are on the BDS list. And I know a lot of people, and I'm gonna end it here because like this got pretty emotional again, and it's already 12:30 a.m. for me, and I gotta get ready to go to sleep and go to work tomorrow. But a lot of people don't care for politics, right? A lot of people don't care about social issues in the world, and it's because like people don't understand it, and they don't want to understand it. It's too complicated, I suppose. So I want to leave off with this quote right here. Here, let me make it bigger. And it says, they ignore. Okay, yes. Okay, I don't want to go to the. Okay, listen. I don't want to go to the next post. Oh my god. Okay, fine. There we go. They ignore the suffering of millions, saying they do not understand it. But then I ask them, in what language does a child cry? It's just so easy to see the evidence of Palestinian people suffering. And no one's out there to represent them except for those who are who are suffering within Palestine. And we need more people. We need more people to speak out for these poor individuals. So I hope that I was able to educate and honor Shireen in the way that she deserved to be honored. I was gonna talk about more stuff, but I wanted to talk mostly about her because her anniversary was really recent. 3 years ago, 3 days ago, 3 years ago, 3, huh? But yeah, I'm gonna go rest now. Thank you for whoever stayed and is still here and listening. This was TamaTalks. I do this every Tuesday, once a week, to talk about social issues that matter to me. especially Palestine. I hope this encourages you to be more open about these things and educating yourselves and like holding your representatives accountable and or holding your money accountable, refraining from supporting the companies that pay for people like Shireen to be brutally murdered and disrespected in the way she was. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is random gay night. Gay night? Oh my god. Yeah, let's go. No, I'm sorry. Game night. Sorry, I misspoke there. I'm pretty tired. But that sounds fun too. I want to play 3 different games tomorrow. I'm gonna play Hollow Knight, The Binding of Isaac,
Gracias,
and then
Thank you for donating.
oh my
to
god,
the
Carolus, you're gonna
PCRF.
make me cry.
Free Palestine.
Thank you.
Careless Writer just donated $5 to the PCRF.
Thank you for donating to the BCRF. It's been months since someone's donated to the PCRF, the charity goal. I believe we are now up to 262. So my widget here is outdated. I apologize, but we are currently at $262 out of 333. Thank you so much, Careless, for supporting me as well. Careless is also one of my biggest supporters. Sorry, I'm still sick. But I would like to shout out Careless as well. Muchas gracias, Careless. It makes me really happy that I'm able to encourage people to donate, you know? Because I know that this is a pretty difficult topic, and I know that not many are interested in it. But if I'm able to at least inspire one person, then I feel like I'm doing something good. And I really want more people to care, so it's gonna be a long road for that to happen, but thank you so much for those who stay here and listen and take me seriously, and to those who donate. I really do appreciate it. And I'm really sorry that lately I have been I've been focusing way too much in small grievances that don't really matter, and it has caused me to cancel a lot of TamaTalks streams, and I shouldn't be doing that, because right now the Palestinian people, and amongst many who are suffering right now, need more people like me to talk about them and advocate for them. So I hope that you guys learned something, and here's the shout out for Careless. They're also a streamer, please. I encourage you guys to follow Careless Writer on Twitch and support them like they're supporting me, and again, thank you for all the viewers, the lurkers, the donators, and those who support me, my friends as well. I'll do my best, and I'll quit trying to be a doomer, and I'll follow my convictions. I don't want to cancel any more streams. Even if I feel like shit. Because my TamaTalks are important, okay? They are. And I just got proof of that just now, so I need to get more thicker skin, I suppose. But again, I do this once a week on Tuesdays, so I I really hope that if people would want to watch again, they can come back again, hear me talk about this on Tuesday. I encourage people to be serious during these talks because just out of respect, I feel like joking around. I'm vulgar, I'm loud, I'm annoying, I'm cringe, but during these specific streams, I want it to be serious. And I want people to take me seriously. And to those who do that, I thank you a lot. Again, tomorrow I'm gonna do like 3 different games, variety games: Hollow Knight, Binding of Isaac, which it's actually gonna be my first time playing it on stream, and Nandake, and Pokemon Unite. I'm gonna start at 10 p.m. JST, and I'll see you there tomorrow. Let's have fun, okay? Once again, thank you for everything. I'm gonna switch to the ending screen now. Now, I have a policy where I don't raid out during TamaTalks, precisely because I do talk about politics, and I don't want to force those politics on people, even though I think I should, and it's really important. I've already had instances where I've rated someone, and then they have that bot that summarizes the stream, and it just kills the mood because I'm talking about something serious, right? So I just decided that out of the safety of other people and the comfort of other people, I don't like making people uncomfortable. I don't raid out during TamaTalks. On the rest of the days, I do, however, so yeah. The stream will end after the song ends. And once again, thank you everyone for supporting me and hearing me out. Let's have fun tomorrow, and let's be cringe together tomorrow. See you. Bye bye.
るから今